Hi everyone, it's Vicki from Minerva. So today we have a fabric haul to share with you, and today's focus is all on stretch fabrics. So we have some woven stretch fabrics and some knit stretch fabrics, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about the different types of stretch fabrics you can get, the difference between a woven stretch and a knit stretch, and just the sorts of things that you can make with these styles of garments, because a woven stretch you would treat differently and make different things with than you might do from a knit stretch fabric. So I've got 5 woven fabrics to share with you today and 5 knit stretch fabrics to share with you. So let's get stuck in and take a look at the selections. So first up, in the woven stretch fabrics, we have this stretch Sateen fabric. Now this is made from a combination of polyester and spandex fibres, and it is classed as a medium weight, and it has about 15% stretch along the width, which you can see there. And there's no, well, very little stretch, it's more of a give really, the other way. Now with this fabric, it's classed as a medium weight and it really does have a good amount of body to it, I would say. So, which is what you'd expect from a lot of Sateen fabrics. So you can see it has some drape, but it is more of a structured fabric really. It does have some weight and it will hold the shape of the garment. Now with woven fabrics, well, woven stretch fabrics, the stretch is coming from the elastane or the lycra or the spandex that has been added to the fibres in the garment. So it doesn't stretch naturally like a knit fabric would. So for example, a knit fabric might just be 100% cotton. It might not have any spandex elastane or lycra in there, but it may still stretch just because of the nature of the knit and how that fabric has actually been made. But with a stretch woven, generally that stretch is going to come because there is some lycra, spandex or elastane content in there, which this one has. So this one has 5% spandex in this fabric. Now one particular fabric that has 5% spandex compared to another may stretch completely differently. So it's not always about the percentage of spandex in the fabric. You would want to look at the stretch percentage that a fabric has. So basically that means that with this one, for example, it will stretch 15% in that direction. So a 10 centimetre amount would stretch to 11.5 centimetres for 15% stretch. So fabrics like this, woven stretch fabrics, are fantastic for woven patterns, but that have what that will give you is it will give you a little bit of wiggle room in the fabric because it is only that little bit of stretch. So that will mean that if you're making something that's quite fitted, for example, then it just gives you that little bit of wiggle room, and in our experience can make achieving a good fit a little bit easier. And it also means that when you're wearing the garment, it's not going to feel as restrictive. It will feel more comfortable when you're wearing it, especially on fitted styles. Now this particular fabric, so this is, like I say, a woven stretch Sateen, and it has this beautiful floral print on there, really gorgeous colours, and it does come in different colourways, this fabric as well. But this one I thought was really pretty and lovely for this time of year. So that's the first fabric. Now the second fabric is a stretch woven satin fabric. Now this one has 97% polyester fibres and 3% spandex. So with this one, it's the same amount of spandex as in the last fabric, but it still has a 15% stretch in the width. So it has some stretch that way and literally no stretch at all in the down the length of the fabric in this one. Now this one is a very soft, slinky, drapey fabric with lots of fluidity, lots of movement, much lighter weight than the last fabric that we looked at. And this fabric, it actually reminds me of the scene in Pretty Woman where she dresses in a fabric a little bit like this. And I think a dress in this fabric would be beautiful. A blouse would be lovely, something like a pussy bow blouse would be so pretty. But you could also make skirts, you could make quite a fancy jumpsuit. Lots and lots of things you can make with this fabric. And again, that little bit of stretch along the width, it's just going to add to the comfort when you wear the garment. And if it's on anything fitted, we'll make it a little bit easier to fit. The next fabric we have that's a stretch woven, so this is a stretch cotton sateen fabric. So it's made from cotton fibres and it has 3% spandex. So again, this has the same amount of spandex as the last fabric, but this one again has a 15% stretch. So only a little, it's only a little bit of stretch, which you'll see the difference when we come to look at the knit fabrics after, just what a difference in stretch that actually is. So with this one, the weave of this fabric is a sateen finish, which basically means it's not to be confused with satin because it isn't a shiny fabric, but it just has a really beautiful, I think very expensive looking finish. It's just a slight sheen or a slight lustrous kind of finish, if that makes sense. Which you can certainly see from the camera, it's not shiny at all. Now this particular design is a beautiful, really, really detailed, delicate floral print, and this one actually comes in a lot of colourways as well. Now because this is a cotton blend fabric, you can see it's not got the drape of the last fabric, it's actually quite structured. So this would be ideal for making skirts, like a pencil skirt or an A-line skirt, something where you want it to hold its shape. It would be fabulous for a fit and flare dress. I think that would be gorgeous in this. You could make a blazer or a jacket. You could make a pinafore dress. You could even make a pair of lightweight dungarees, trousers even. You could choose for example, say like the Ultimate Fit trousers from Sew Over It would be lovely, or you could choose a skinny fit, almost jean pair of trousers. That would be perfect for this as well, but you get a really good fit on trousers in this sort of fabric. So the next fabric we've got, so this is a woven stretch crepe fabric. Now this is a smooth finish crepe, so there's very little texture in there compared to some crepes. And it's very lightweight as well, so you can see, just how soft and drapey and fluid that fabric is. It's absolutely beautiful, and I just love this stunning floral print design. So compared to some other crepe fabrics, crepe can come as non-stretch or stretch. It's more common to find crepe that's non-stretch, so this is a more unusual one. But again, so this one has just a touch of stretch in the width and no stretch at all in the length, down the length there. And it's quite a lightweight fabric for a crepe. You can get crepe fabrics that are a lot heavier than this. So in my opinion, this makes this fabric absolutely perfect for a blouse. And you could make a lightweight summery dress in it as well. Anything that requires ruffles or gathers in the dress or in a skirt would be absolutely beautiful. And you just know that it's going to hang and drape so well in that fabric. Really, really beautiful. So the next one we have, now this is another suiting fabric. This is a twill suiting. So this one is called our Waterfall Twill Stretch Woven Suiting fabric. And this one is a blend of polyester, viscose and 5% spandex. And this one has a 10% stretch on the width, so just a little bit of give in there and then nothing on the width at all. So this is a medium weight suiting, and when you look up close on the fabric, you probably won't be able to see it on camera there, you have to look up really close, but it does have a diagonal weave on the surface of the fabric, and that weave just gives it, for me, quite a formal look for this sort of fabric. So I think this would be great to make a suit, or to make trousers, a pencil skirt, a formal blazer jacket would be lovely. I think this sort of thing is great for clothes that you might wear to, wear in the office, or anything that requires it to be a little bit more formal. The polyester content in the fabric does make it super easy care, so you're going to be able to wash it in your machine, tumble dry, and it's going to come out the same again, wash after wash. But the viscose element just gives it a really beautiful softness, and you can feel the quality of this fabric. It's a really, really good one, and we have it in lots of colours as well. And then last up on the woven stretch fabrics, so this one is actually a lining fabric, which I thought would be interesting to include. Now, Obviously, we do lots of different lining fabrics at Minerva. We do knit lining fabrics, we do wovens, but we also do a woven stretch lining. So if you're making a garment that requires a lining, if your outer garment is a woven stretch fabric, if you line it with a woven stretch lining, then you're going to retain the stretch across the whole garment. So if, for example, if you were making a garment in this, for example, and you wanted to line it, if you lined that with just an ordinary lining, the lining wouldn't stretch, so you would lose the stretch capabilities in the outer fabric. But if you line it with our stretch woven fabric, because both fabrics would stretch, you would retain the element of stretch. And it is only a little bit of stretch in this fabric, just a touch, so it's not super stretchy. But obviously compared to our non-stretch wovens, it does have a little bit of stretch in there. So this is lightweight, as you would expect from a lining, so it's not going to add any bulk to the overall garment. It comes in a good selection of colours too, and it's designed so that when the two fabrics are together and you're wearing the garment, that it's not going to ride up at all, and it's not going to catch on the outer fabric. So your outer fabrics will just slide over and look as if the appearance as if there isn't a lining underneath. So yeah, that's a really useful fabric, and definitely one to consider if you know you're going to be lining a stretch woven fabric. So now we'll move on to knits. So the first fabric I think I'll show you is this beautiful viscose jersey. Now this fabric has 95% viscose and 5% spandex. So that's very similar to some of those that we looked at earlier in that there's 5% spandex. But with this being a knit fabric, look at how much that stretches. It's a super amount of stretch compared to those earlier ones. And even on down the length of the fabric there, you can see it has a good amount of stretch. So this one actually stretches 70% across the width and 35% down the length. So much, much more than those 10 and 15% that we're looking at earlier. Now, I think the design on this one is absolutely beautiful, like a jungle leaf print theme. I think that's fabulous. And with it being a viscose jersey, one, it feels incredibly soft. It's really soft, really drapey. You can see really fluid, really floppy, and has lots and lots of movement. So this is going to suit knit patterns that require that characteristic, so that require a soft and drapey fabric. So an example of that might be the closet core ebony top or dress, which that requires a really soft drapey knit fabric. So a viscose jersey like this is absolutely perfect for that. Now with knit patterns, they require a knit fabric because there'll be some part of the garment that is very fitted that doesn't have any fastenings, so there's no way of you actually getting that garment on and off unless the fabric has lots of stretch. So in this garment, for example, like if you were making the closet core ebony top, at the top of the garment it's fitted here, and then at the bottom it's very loose and drapey, which is why you need the drape of this sort of fabric. But at the top it's quite fitted. So if you made that, for example, in a woven stretch that only has a touch of stretch, there just isn't enough stretch in there to be able to get it on and off over your head without there being any fastenings. But in this one, there's so much stretch, you can just pull that on and it goes back into shape once it's on the body. So that's why it's quite important. If you can experiment with patterns that are designed for woven and do them in a knit and vice versa, but you do have to consider, changing the fabric element from what a pattern suggests. You have to think how that's going to change the functionality of the garment. And in this case, with going from a knit to a woven fabric, you would have to compensate in some way, because sewing the same garment in a woven that has very little stretch just wouldn't allow you to get the garment on and off. So the next fabric we have, so this is a really interesting knit. Now this is in our sweater knit category on the site, and this is a rope textured, as we call it, and you'll see what I mean when I hold this out. So can you see that rope, almost like cable-like knit design that goes down the fabric? It's got such a good weight. Oh, it's beautifully soft. It's such a cosy fabric. It's absolutely beautiful. I just love the weight of this fabric. So this now, and even though this is quite a drapey knit, it's very different to the last one because this was so lightweight in comparison. Now with this one being so heavy, I think this is perfect for sweaters, jumpers. You can make hoodies or jumper dresses, that kind of cosy knit vibe where you need something soft and cosy and heavy to hold the shape of that garment. Now with this one, so we're looking at, this is made from 85% polyester and 15% rayon. So there's no lycra or spandex or elastane that's been added to this fabric. The stretch element comes just from the nature of the knit. Now you can see that way there's barely any stretch, just a little bit of give, and this way there's only a little bit of stretch. Now fabrics like this I do think are easier to sew if you're a beginner to knits. Fabrics like this that have so much stretch and so much drape, you might want to save that for a couple of projects in when you're a little bit more used to handling knits. But something like this, yeah, it's very stable. And the weight of it, just means it's not going to slip and slide on your machine quite so much. It does come in quite a few different colourways as well. So if this beautiful mustardy tone isn't for you, then there are lots of different colours on the site. So that one's a very different knit to the last one we looked at. Next up we have a pontarama. Now this is one of my favourite all-time fabrics to sew with. I love a pontarama. So a pontarama is a stable knit, which again, I would definitely recommend pontarama as your first fabric to sew with if you're new to knits. So your first knit garment, because it's a very stable knit. It doesn't slip and slide. It has a good amount of stretch, but not in a way that's difficult to handle. So this one, for example, this has 35% stretch on the width and 20% stretch down the length. It's made from polyester fibres, viscose and 5% spandex. And I pulled this design out because it's one of my favourites on the site at the moment. It's a black and grey and taupey colour animal print design. It's very, very subtle. We did a kit in this fabric actually last year for the Sew Over It Heather dress, which I thought that was my favourite kit actually of those 5 that month that we launched. And I just think that's a really good pattern for this sort of fabric. But you could make blazer jackets, all different styles of jackets really. You could make skirts, you can make trousers, jumpsuits, tops, skirts, dresses. It's a really versatile fabric. And yeah, you want a knit pattern that requires a little bit of structure. So you don't want something that needs something too soft and drapey. A little bit of structure, but it sits somewhere in the middle. There's a pontarama, so it makes it really versatile for loads of different patterns. So next up we have a slub sweater knit. This is very different to the other sweater knit that I showed you. And you can see with this one just how soft and drapey that is. Really beautiful. And what makes this fabric different is it's really loosely knitted. So you're looking at the fabric and you can actually see holes through the knit. And it's not that it's a very thin fabric, it's actually classed as, this is a medium to heavy weight because of the grams per square metre, yet you can still see through it slightly because it's such an open knit. So if you do hand knit, you'll know that a stocking stitch is where you knit one row and then purl a row, knit a row, purl a row. And that's exactly what this fabric is, obviously done on a machine, not hand knitted. But what that means is on the front of the fabric, you have little V's, and on the back of the fabric, you have little loops. Now you could use either side of the fabric. Personally, I like the V's the best on this one, but I do think it might be quite nice, if you made like a cardigan or something and you wanted to roll the sleeves up, that you would actually see the other side of the fabric, whichever one you chose for the main. That would be really lovely. So this sort of fabric, now this one has 50% stretch in the width, a lot of stretch there, 15 down the length, so just a little bit down the length of the fabric. So and this is 100% polyester, this fabric. So this is ex-designer fabric, and so the stretch is coming from the nature of the knit rather than added spandex elastane or lycra. So yeah, with the soft drape of this fabric and the weight, I think it would be beautiful for something with a cowl neck, cardigans, jumpers, jumper dresses. It would be absolutely lovely. Just bear in mind, that it's slightly sheer, so depending what style you make, you might want to, you could either line it, or you could make a layering garment, or if it was a top, to be honest, I wouldn't line that. A dress I would want to line. Or wear it over a slip or something. But I think, a cardigan especially would be gorgeous, and it would really slouchy and lovely layer to kind of be able to chuck on over anything really. Really lovely fabric. And then this next fabric, so this is a different type of knit again. Now this is our textured stretch knit fabric. So this is in our textured knits filter on the site. And this one, if you're familiar with a scuba or a pontarama, it's in that sort of realm, that sort of weight. So on this one we have 30% stretch across the width and 35% stretch down the length. And on the textured surface, hopefully you might be able to pick that up on camera actually if I hold it up like this. You'll be able to see on the surface there it has this wonderful texture, and it really just adds to the overall design. And I do think this geometric print is just absolutely gorgeous. I think in black and cream it's fabulous, but it does come in other colours on the site as well, which there's some really lovely colours there, so do check those out as well. But yeah, this fabric, I think this would be perfect for it. I'd be making a jumper dress in this. It's just that nice weight where it's not too thin but not too heavy. It's got a good amount of stretch, so it's going to be nice and comfortable to wear. But you could also make tops, you could make like a lightweight sweatshirt, definitely cardigans would be fantastic, a little skirt would be lovely. So lots and lots that you can make with that fabric as well. And then last one I've got to share with you, so this is another viscose jersey. So this isn't a different type of fabric to what we've just been looking at. It's very similar to the, very similar to the other viscose jersey we looked at. But I just wanted to share this beautiful print with you. Now this is an ex-designer dead stock fabric we've got in at the moment. But once it's gone, it has gone, this fabric. We won't be able to get any more. And I just think it's so pretty. For anybody that loves soft, neutral colours with that hint of rust and this sort of denim-y blue, greyish Air Force colour sort of background with the animal print. It's just absolutely beautiful. And again, this will be good for soft, unstructured styles. I think you could even make a beautiful jumpsuit in this, or some wide leg trousers for a summer holiday. Just a simple top. My favourite, the Butterick 5995 is great. That's an example that's designed for wovens, but I make it in knits as well, because there isn't, in that case, that's a pattern that's ideal for both. But yes, so many patterns that you could choose for this. Tops and dresses, absolutely perfect. And I just think that's an absolutely gorgeous design. So that's all the fabrics I had to share with you today. So I hope that helped demystify the differences between a knit stretch fabric and a woven stretch fabric, and what the differences are, how they behave differently, the difference in the stretch, and why that is. And also, just some idea on the sorts of styles you can make with both of them. So as always, we will tag all the products that we've mentioned in today's video below. So if you want to click on all these fabrics, you can learn even more on the product pages on Minerva. So you can see what colours they come in, the compositions, the stretch percentages, As always with Minerva, it's fantastic to be able to see what other members of the community have been making in these patterns, in these fabrics, because that's always so inspiring to get ideas from pattern and fabric combinations. I think looking through the site, you know, it's just, you get so many ideas, and sometimes you see a pattern that, you know, you think, well, on the envelope I wouldn't have chose that, but seeing that on such a body in that fabric, you know, that's sold it to me. I now want to make and sew that pattern. So it's really, really inspiring. So do check out those links, because I'm sure you're going to leave feeling really inspired to sew. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give us a like and give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you again next time.